Meow. Good meowing, and welcome to Shadowlight Stories with your host Skylor. So, things just happened, like really just a few seconds ago. So the dog barking like crazy and whatnot in a weird way, not like her normal like bark of like that car smells gross or there's a predator in the yard that I know is a predator and it's a problem. We need to get that out of there. Type of thing. So she didn't have a bark. So we took her outside to go see what it was, and well, we got all geared up and stuff just in case. We had to deal with things before, like had wolves on properties that we've lived on, we've had bears, we had all sorts of things. So we just got geared, real quick, boom. And then I headed out there, we got our crosses and everything all silvered up too, just in case. Like, you never know what the hell it could be. So prep for anything, and we do it really fast. So I think most people take it more than like a minute or two, but we're just ready to go and boom, out the door. Well, at the window, checking, boom, do a perimeter search thing to see if there's anything obvious. It was like, obviously, like a brown bear or something. I'm not gonna walk out there to go shoot it. I'm just gonna, bam, done. So anyways, didn't see anything obvious, went out there with the dog. She went walking, quickly found what she was looking for and whatnot, and then so weirded out at the edge of the fence and like, but not like approaching, like not running into it. So we figured it out. We looked at it and figured out what was going on, seen it, and it was a possum. There's a possum. She found a possum. This is the second time she's seen that possum. So two times that possum has been here and seen by the dog. First time she literally jumped over the possum. She like saw him, was like, oh, and then ran and jumped over him, and then ran away. I was like, where'd he go? He must have ran away. He's super magical. And told him back behind him a little later as he was just walking off into the little hidey spot. But she forced him to move into a spot that he hadn't walked into before, so he got really confused and just sort of like buckled down, silent like. But he was like side angles was like. It took a while for him to like, turn it to where it's like normal and stuff. We had light on him there and had to look at. So we were concerned that he might have got stuck, because like we like possums here. Like we don't have chickens yet, and when we do, we'll just make sure they can't get into the chicken coop at night, and then literally no problem with possums. Like that's it. Just me. Anyway, so possum, cute. He's missing half of his tail. It's missing. It's just gone. I don't know what happened to him there. I hope he's alright. I hope he gets to have babies and stuff and all that cool stuff, because I like the possums. They do a lot to help out. And I remember this year when we had the raccoons come in and take everything, especially the overpopulation of raccoons that happened. Our possums that were hanging out they're gone. Like, the territory got taken. So ticks started coming in, and we had a bunch of them, and my dog got Lyme disease, and we had to do a whole treatment for that. But now, there's possums back, so I'm happy. They eat those stupid ticks. They eat a bunch of those nasty little bugs and whatnot, and prevent them from going anywhere. So what if it grabs an apple from an apple tree every now and then? I'm not going to go up climbing them for it. It'll just eat one that's on, like, the ground level anyway. And most of those have already been, like, touched by, like, beetles and stuff to the point where they have like a hole in them or something or whatnot, so they're really more for like soup if I was gonna use them for anything. So if it spends a week eating a singular apple that fell off of the tree at that point, I don't care. Whatever, it's not taking from my actual yield. The bugs that ruined that thing I would have taken from my yield. So it's free payment for the possum at this point for taking care of ticks and all that other nastiness. That's it. All the story I got for the possum. 2 encounters with the possum so far for the doggo. She's handled both like a pro. She didn't try to kill it or rip it to shreds or anything like that. She was more confused about what it was. And this time she found it and then looked at it, was like, hey, you stuck? And whatnot, and we realized that it wasn't. We took a look over and saw that it could get out the other way and stuff. It just had to get back into moving around, because it's not the direction it came from. So possums like to go where they've been. They don't like new routes. They'll make new routes to go look for food or find things and stuff like that, or escape a predator, but they don't like it. It's like their most hated thing. So if they get an opportunity to use a path they just walked, they'll almost always take the same exact path, even if they had weird little bumps that make them take longer going there and stuff. They'll take that a whole path back. That's really cool about possums because they can solve puzzles and mazes and stuff pretty quickly and reliably. But if they solved it really slowly, they'll use that same solution, but they will get there. So there you go. Possums are cool, and that's not at all what I wanted to talk about, but it's what happened. I was going to do a whole video here, and then possum happened. So this is the possum episode. All well. At any rate, what I wanted to talk about. Oh my god. I'll just make this one the D&D one too, because I was going to talk about something else. I was going to talk about Eric D. July stuff and everything there, you know, that whole shebang. But I'll do a different episode about it, so it's not just, oh, the possum episode. That's where he talks about it. So the second episode will be... Oh. Anyway, let's talk some D&D stuff. I have a few things I want to talk about planned. So, first of all, let's talk about current D&D, what it is. And then we'll go into what old D&D was, and what I'm trying to do with D&D right now. And then we'll get into some random stuff, like, deal with it, you know. So, and some stuff going on in the community. So, I guess we should start with the community stuff. So, let's start with the community. The community. So, something weird happened recently. So, the D&D community, you know, is part of the TTRPG community. And in the TTRPG community, you will see people doing actual plays or live plays or stuff of different games. And that includes, like, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Vampire the Masquerade, and D&D. And then there's a group called Critical Role, who have a TV show and everything, The Legend of Vox Machina. Like, watch it, it's good. You know, it's for what it is. Like, it's not going to appeal to everyone, but it's fun. I enjoyed it. At any rate, there's a big community of people around that, and a big chunk of them are freaking weirdos. Like, you don't want them in your fan base, but people like those who host Critical Role, and Wizards of the Coast and a bunch of others and stuff don't gatekeep at all. They don't. They instead blame things on weird stuff. Like, rather than being like, hey, this guy's a pedophile, I don't want him to have anything to do with my stuff, they say, whatever, he's a fan, I don't care. You know, and then they only really pinpoint people on one side of the political spectrum as an enemy, and Critical Role doesn't, but Wizards of the Coast does. They'll be like, oh man, he said, like, Trump was great, screw that guy, get him off of our platform. But someone who's like, you know, like, yeah, oh, kids, wow, or anything weird like that, they're like, I don't care, it's not like he's a Nazi or whatever. And it's like, you should care. Like, you don't want them part of your fan base. And if you're going to have them as part of your fan base, if you're not going to get rid of them, then you're going to want to put some stuff down where it's like, hey, we hope people use this to improve themselves as people and get over blah blah type of things. So you should put that kind of stuff in there, because, you know, like, look at the church. That's one of the things they do. They're like, yeah, you know what, eating babies, not a good idea, not promoted here. But if you're a baby eater and you join us and stuff there, well, we'll accept you, but you gotta stop eating babies. You gotta work on that, you know? Stop doing that. Just don't do it. Hopefully we're a gateway to help you get out of doing that. We don't want you doing that. We're not just gonna instantly burn you to death for it, but we'll make sure to help you become a non-baby eater. Yeah. So if you want to keep people like that in your community, you gotta work on, like, figuring out, put things in to help them fix it and stuff like that. Like, D&D especially has this going already, but not in official channels. It's just kind of weird. Like, we have whole things for people dealing with, like, domestic abuse, you know, all sorts of things. Domestic abuse, people who've been enslaved. It's like, slavery is a real thing. It's in the real world. It happens to this day. This whole country's where it's going on big. And then there's ones where it's going on underground, type of, air quotes, underground. You know, it's like not really talked about and stuff, but all that still happens. And a lot of people who've suffered from those and stuff, well, psychologists and stuff are using D&D as a way to deal with it. And they've made some pretty interesting modules and things like that you can use to help people out with those issues, you know, who've been through those horrible situations. And Wizards of the Coast should be promoting more of that, you know, being like, yeah, look at this. This is the thing that was made. Let's make that official. Let's work with it. But they're not. They've got their own cans of issues, cans of worms that they're trying to work on and deal with. So, meh. Hopefully they get their stuff figured out. I think one of the biggest things they have as an issue right now is editors getting in the way of success. I'm just going to say it that way. There's people who've made like really cool things for different little races and stuff in there. Like there's these weird little frog lizard people things. I'm not exactly sure what they were. There's some weird mixed thing where it was their own kind of thing. I can't think of the name. And they were in one of the books. And, they hired someone from a specific ethnicity to go and write the stuff for them. So they did, and they gave them really cool stuff. They had like, they use shells and stuff like this. They do these sorts of things, blah, blah, blah. And it filled the required spaces they want while giving them a unique, interesting culture. The Had a Z had something, Had a Z had something similar with their old material. Old material was like, hey, it's a mystery of where we came from, but we showed up at the same time as this unhuman thing, and, then the elves hated us because of that and stuff. We had a whole thing, and the Had a Z were based off of two cultures, and that was chimpanzee post-war culture, and guess what? The American U.S. Navy man. That was the two things that defined their culture. Wow. Interesting. But, when they redid the book stuff, people edited everything out. Like, the new Had a Z had a horrible, horrible backstory. Whereas, like, hey, all of a sudden, slavery is a big part of it and stuff there. And we're going to talk about how, right after that, we're smiling and always working happy on these slave ships and stuff. And then we're going to have a picture of him drawn that looks like the old, monkey in a suit does the type of thing and whatnot. But you didn't even bother to check where that suit came from, where that outfit with the monkey came from. So that was a big issue. They screwed that up way bad. And yes, Navy men were smiling and happy and stuff, but when you put slavery right before that and stuff as on the sheet, no one's thinking that anymore. They're thinking about the stereotypes of all the things. So think and edit correctly. Just don't add anything to the Had a Z backstory. Don't change it. Don't give them a weird wizard making them. They didn't have that before. They didn't even know their own origins at that point because they got lost in the confusion and everything else going on. But they know they developed on their own. Like, the mystery of where they came from and stuff was something players are supposed to play through and figure out if they really want to get interested in that. They took all that away. And then other guys, the weird lizard fish things I was talking about, I can't remember the name of, they stripped away all the thing about the shells and how they utilize bones and all that stuff there and said that they just do primitive tools. Primitive. It's the word primitive. Dudes, you chose to have an audience that is very particular, and then you decide to get stuff from them and get that people from these different ethnicities to come and make things and do things and give you interesting, unique content, and you strip it all away to use the word primitive. Took up the same amount of space, changed the interesting parts to just one word, primitive, and added a bunch of jargon that did nothing for it at all. Just to make him seem like, they're dumb. Dude, no. What the fuck? But Wizards of the Coast has this big issue where they don't like context. That's something they hate. They hate context. They can't have it. They had to change the drow just because they can't read their own books. Literally, they can't be bothered to read their own books. Like, I grew up, and one of the books things we had was like the one where it was about the elven origins in D&D, and where they came from, where Lolth came from. How did the drow become a drow? What happened to the dark elves? Why aren't there any dark elves? Are there any? Oh yeah, guess what? There were some with Saloon. Oh wow! So they had a spot to get drow who weren't drow into the world. Dark elves into the world, but they didn't take it because they didn't want to. They were just too busy going, nah. I just want to retcon everything and throw like 15 different kinds of super nice, awesome, beautiful drow into the universe and use the context of this particular world for it, when if you were going to use the context of that world, would you just use Saloon where they were? Like, factually and written into your lore and your books and all your other materials so you can sell those again? Like, you want to make more money? Don't you want money? You have money. Make money. Anyways, so they chose not to make money. And it chose to pander. instead for no reason, and they could have pandered at the same time as making money. Could have done both. Chose one over the other. Dumb move. Anyway, so that's that for like Wizards of the Coast sort of things and stuff, and how they're being like unintentionally racist and stuff because they just don't care. Like, I don't know if they're unintentional or purposeful, and I don't care. I'm not gonna bother trying to figure it out. All I know is quit getting your editors in the way of your writing staff. Like, look at Radiant Citadel. You didn't let your editors get in the way there. That's a lesson learned. But don't let them do it in other spots. Don't keep an eye on them. Fix it. Make sure it doesn't happen. Not hard. And quit ruining old stuff that was good. Quit filling it with random jargon. If you want to fill it with something random, you've literally hired out like 16 different people to lay like, ooh, race awareness people and stuff. Use them. Like, if you're paying for them, because they've paid for them on certain projects, just pay for them on all your products. Just hire them on full time and be like, hey, we're on this through. This is what the random guy said he wanted to do and stuff, blah, 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 blah. And it'd be like, oh, wow, that's pretty messed up. You check the history of these guys in the old editions and stuff, or any of the secondary material like your books and stuff? No, we didn't. No, go check that stuff and see if any of this is there or if there's something better, because this is dog shit. Easy. You have the people. You're already hiring them and paying them. Just do it full time. Put them on all the things, or fire them and don't use them for anything. Like, make a decision. Don't be in the middle ground. Hang in the middle ground. Whatever. Anyways, so this is a D&D episode, so we're talking about D&D. So we had to get through a bunch of that stuff. Back to the main subject thing here. I'm gonna go on tangents. I love tangents. So the Critical Role fan base has these people who they've never played D&D. They'll never play D&D. If they do, they're going to be the most annoying players you've ever seen. And they're there. Oof, boy, are they there. They literally, one of their statements was, a player character can't die unless everyone in the entire group, DM and players, agree that the player character should die. It doesn't work that way. We have combat mechanics in D&D, so it doesn't work that way. Just right off the bat, I'll tell you that. There's combat mechanics in a game. It does not work that way. It will never be player only dies if everyone in the entire party agrees. Once you put combat mechanics in there, you've said nuts to that. If it's a game like, hey, all we do is plant vegetables and stuff, then yeah, sure, maybe it's about that. Maybe that's how you handle characters dying. But D&D's always had combat mechanics, player deaths, in every edition, including the latest edition. So it's a thing that can happen, and no, the group doesn't have to agree on it. The official way it's played is Adventurers League, which is, I have a lot of things to say that are stupid about Adventurers League, but Adventurers League is the official way to play, and you can just die randomly in there, like, boom. Yeah, okay, you're level 18, but you're dead because of Pit Trap. Lol, swag. Alright, done. Moving on. No one cares. Roll up your new level 1 character, get back in here, and you're playing with us, whatever. That's just how that is. That's just D&D. So that's the official way it's ran. Like, boom. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Critical Role does things differently. They do things their own way and stuff, and some of their player characters died. Oh no. The player character is dead. Oh no. What way? Who cares? They're gonna make a new character, they're gonna be playing, and they're gonna have fun. It's their D&D game. They're doing their way with their own stuff, with their own settings and stuff like that. Whatever. But these people are like, no, I will kill them. Like, they're sending like death threats to people and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, how dare you let Sam Raimi's character die, or whoever it was. I don't even know. I don't listen to Critical Role very often. I don't watch their stuff too often. That's alright, but right now I'm more like, hey, what's an Arabic recipe for handling bass? Do they ever have bass over there? What's it like? What do we do? How do they handle it? I'm watching my own stuff. Not my own stuff, but you know what I mean. I'm watching my own different weird things. Or going back and being like, because I don't have the time to read through it anymore and stuff. I'm going back and listening to someone read through the entire AD&D, Dungeon Master's Guide. Like, I've read it once, and I've noted stuff all over the place and read those little areas over and over again, done that stuff, but I've never had the time to go back in the last few years and do that. So I've been listening to someone else do it. Boom, getting me through it, and they stop and they talk about it and stuff, what they think and what's interesting to them. all that other stuff, and that's nice. I like it. You know, I have all sorts of other things I'm doing and listening to, so get cooked. Anyway, that's what's going on with D&D stuff. With the Critical Role, it was weird to get like death threats because characters died. Like, dude, characters die every day. That's just how it works. And then you know, there's people on Twitter who are talking about it and being like, I don't understand this. What the hell? You know, it's really weird. This shouldn't happen. You know, it's like, well, there's two things that I said it best. One, whenever you get an audience too big and you don't gatekeep it, that's what happens. You get weirdos like that who are gonna do stuff like that, try to take over and do weird stuff and be freaks, and they're not good. They're not good for your community. You know, a troll or two is fine to have in your community, but you don't want those in there. So that's why you gatekeep, is to prevent people like that who are gonna be like, yeah, you know what? A normal thing that happened in this game happened for once, so I'm gonna go kill some real human beings because of it. No, you don't want them there. Kick them out of your community. Don't accept them. They go in there into like one of your forums or whatever. You tell them, nah, you're not welcome here. Get out. Easy. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go kill the people in here and stuff. And just, you know, if you're really worried that they'll do it, you send a police report or whatever. I'm like, hey, I was gonna say do this stuff. Boom, boom, boom. And he's got a record for it. Well, then there you go. Solve your own problem. Done. Well, if you don't want to get the police involved or whatever, you got ways of handling things like that these days. All sorts of people do. You have all sorts of stuff. Prevent them from becoming an issue to where they're like, you know, killing people at like a Dragon Con or something. You don't want that. You don't want to ever get there. You don't even want to get close to that. You know, so keep them out of your community. Easy. Just gatekeep properly. Don't gatekeep like, you know, like, oh, there's someone there who just doesn't know what a dwarven, you know, hammer looks like or whatever the hell, you know. This guy doesn't know where drow come from, so you know what? Fuck him, get him out of the community. No, don't do that. But when someone says, hey man, I want all dwarves to just, you know, be born by being popped out of the tit of a goat, you gotta go, no, dude, you're fucking with us, right? And like, no, I'm serious. If anything else other than that is the case, I will, you know, take a knife out and slit my own throat. You tell that guy, A, get out. B, go see a psychiatrist. C, I think we're all willing to pitch in a little bit of money for your first session with that psychiatrist. Okay, like we can help with that. We can get it set up. We can help. Okay, but you need one. If you even want to be around here, you're gonna have to go through that. Cause like, what, dude, that's crazy. And then they'll be like, nah, thank you, I have to go. And then, you know, they'll be like, okay, get out, man. Security, you know, whatever, get him out of here. And deal with it. Don't let him be there to where he's the point where it's like, yes, all dwarves are born out of, you know, goat milk. You know, don't let him in. Just don't. You know, kick him out. Kick him out before he has a chance to cause any problems. That's the thing you should do. Back to more normal D&D stuff. Okay, so I want to talk about that one random thing from the community, and it led into a whole weird tangent about all sorts of stuff. Anyway, well, let's go into what D&D is now. So what has D&D become? What is it currently? Okay. D&D is currently a system for telling scripted stories with your friends. What does that mean? It means one person has this book and information that says this is the only stuff that can happen. Only things within this, and anything outside of this is the devil. Now, there you go. And one person goes like, okay, well, that's the way that is. Boom, boom. Anything else is the devil. Got it. Boom, just a book. Book is God. Cool. And then you have a bunch of people who go and play with that who are like, wow, I'm going to make a character, and I'm going to do stuff. And it's going to happen in this, and we're going to create this story that's right here, that is a written book, that is a story. We're going to create this story together, even though it's already there, 100% done. We're going to do it. And the other person's like, yeah, that's right, I got the God book, so yes, that's exactly what's going to happen, and nothing else is going to deviate from that in any way, shape, or form. And if you even try to roleplay outside of that, I'll make sure you don't. Okay? And then they go, okay. And then they play that. And they do that. They do exactly that. It's like, man, maybe after this balloon crash thing and stuff, this thing exploded, and I want my character to walk away from this. Let's go find the nearest town instead of the death pits of doom. Let's go find a town and get rehabilitated. And the guy with the god book goes, no, it's not in the god book, so we're not doing that. You're going to this death dungeon instead. Let's go. God book says so. And that's basically what it's become. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, that's Adventurers League. Because if you're a normal, sane person, you don't play it that way. But if you only have time to pop into Adventurers League or something like that, that's how you play it. And that's that done. And you can't say, and be an actual legitimate part of Adventurers League, you can't say, you know what, there's a Slad here and whatnot, I'm going to make him friendly, and I'm going to make him addicted to shrooms and whatever. It'll be a goof and a gaff, and we'll have this fun thing. It's a nice reversal of what should be a really serious monster encounter to be this hilarious NPC encounter. You know, that'll be interesting and whatnot, and I can explain it away and with all sorts of cool stuff and expand it. No, you're not allowed to do that. Adventurers League says no. If it's not the book, the God book, then you're wrong. So, follow the God book. Don't like Adventurers League. So, yeah, Adventurers League sucks. Not that I'm bad at it. I got my characters at least 2 or second level, maybe 3rd. When I played Adventurers League for a little bit, but I didn't like that. I didn't like that it wasn't something you could do whatever you wanted with and stuff, or play like D&D. So most people play D&D outside of Adventurers League, which Adventurers League is fine if you're traveling around a lot of no time to stop in anywhere and stuff and whatnot. You just need to step in the thing and play. It has its uses and capability, but it needs some modification to be good long term. I think it's a fun format for certain people, and could be great. It's like, kind of like Magic the Gathering, how they have their Friday Night Magic. That's its own unique thing, and is very different than how a lot of people play Magic the Gathering. So, same with D&D. Adventurers League is its own weird specific thing for weird specific people, but it's considered the normal standard. Outside of that, we have normal people who play with either a pre-built setting or they create their own setting and they tell a story in that setting with their friends. So what they do is they're like, man, I'm gonna tell a story and it's gonna be like, wow, we're gonna have these warlock cults over here and we're gonna have this kingdom over there where they got a wizard trying to, turn the king into a frog or whatever, and then the players are gonna be here and they're gonna have to prevent that wizard from turning the king into a frog. Or whatever, whatever weird stuff they want to do. They have that sort of big plan, and then the players show up, and they're like, oh man, I want to make Elvin McElvenstein, whose whole thing is being an elf. And the DM's like, okay. And so you get them and a bunch of other characters together, they play, as some of them, do weird stuff, and then they take over an orphanage, and, a dwarven orphanage specifically, and they're like, okay, this dwarven orphanage now, we're gonna, smuggle drugs through the children, and I'm like, why are you doing this? All you're just trying to do is prevent the king from getting turned into a frog by this wizard guy. And they're like, oh, the wizard guy was gonna do that, that's where it was coming from, how he found the threat, guys, and whatnot. Let's smuggle cocaine into his room, and then get him ejected from the castle. Solve the mystery that way, woohoo! And that's sort of how it plays for a lot of people, is, players do something weird and crazy. DM had something simple, but maybe a little funky going on, and then they try to make it work. And it usually doesn't, but it creates something. They all have fun. Some of them get a little frustrated for a while, but they work it and tweak it till they're all having fun. And they have some fun with it, and they end it, and they go, damn, that was weird. And they either do it again, or they don't, nah, or they try something. It's like, let's do a published adventure. And it's just those God books I was talking about before. And then they do that, but they do it their way because the players are like, well, you know what? The DM put this goblin here, and the DM's like, I made up this goblin here because I can, haha. And they're like, well, obviously he's important to the plot, so let's, buy him a mansion and whatnot, and then, help him out and do all this other weird stuff. And then, it'll turn into an adventure of how we get him to become the king god of Waterdeep. And then we'll steal a Spelljammer halfway through from the docks and just go to space, because swag. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to be stopping a beholder who was a criminal from, running a crime syndicate. And they go, yeah, we don't even know about that anymore, man. We just, over here, in space, hanging out with, monkeys. That's what we're doing. We're hanging with space monkeys in space, and this one cool, hippo guy we found who makes guns in space. that's our adventure now. All in the name of getting this goblin to become the supreme overlord of Faerun. Like, that's what happens. And that's modern D&D. And it's an interesting experience. You try to make a story. Things get weird. And it, becomes this weird story that you'll talk about later. And man, this is funky fresh. Funky fresh is not used by many people. I just say I'm the only weirdo who says funky fresh on things. Wait. Anyway, hopefully this episode has better sound quality because I'm a lot closer to the mic. It's right there. Whoa. If not, well, next one I'll be using the headphones on and we'll see which one has the best sound quality. Well, no. Next week's ones will have that because, yeah, I'm doing this in small segments. Chicka chicka choo. Anyway, the shirt I'm wearing is relevant here. This is so that's the life cycle of a monster in D&D called an Illithid, or Mind Flayer. That's their life cycle and all the ways it goes and twists and stuff. Anyway, the thing I want to talk about is what D&D was, and what I'm surprised isn't a whole movement in its own right, to the point where I'm putting the foot down and I'm starting the movement because no one else is doing it and it should be done. So what is that? Well, original D&D was a very dark world. Like, it was like if Conan were darker, and that was it. Like, you take Conan, oh yeah, some people have metal now. That's cool. That's new. That's fun. Oh, and by the way, guys, there's an evil death thing of death down there. We're gonna go try and fight it so we can get money. That's that. Boom. That was the setting. It was very dark, very... We have exactly 3 little thin wax reeds left that we're burning as light and whatnot. It's running out, and as soon as those go out while we're down here, we're not going to be able to find our way out, and we're all going to die. So we got to get out of here now. Or lock up for the night, and then, use these candles after we get our rest and try to get out. It's very, very different type of game. And what made it more interesting than that, because that part was fine, that's its own thing, it's a dungeon crawling game. That was the main focus. But there was an entirely different experience. It wasn't a story experience. It was an otherworld experience. And that's super cool, and I want that back. I want the TTRPG community to have that style of game back. We don't have it right now. Not in any big league things, not in any big stuff. No one has it. But what was it? What was the Otherworld game? Well, original D&D had the Otherworld experience. And when you look at AD&D, it's written out there how to do it and what it was. So, nowadays, there's settings for D&D. You go like, hey, there's Greyhawk, there's Faerun, there's Eberron, there's all this other stuff, and there's stories that take place in certain ones that you play. But in original D&D, each of those settings was a campaign. So a campaign is like what you and your players are playing in D&D. That's what that's called. And normally, in modern D&D, a campaign is that story you're telling, In old D&D, that campaign was the world you played on. And the Otherworld experience is how that happened. So when you were playing it, you had time, and time mattered. And it counted. Like, we're playing this week. Okay, we're playing on Saturday. So, cool. Saturday would be whatever date in the game. We start, boom, playing. And maybe we go into different points in time and stuff, so we track things down. And then we go, we're not playing for another week, but every day that passes is another day that passes in the game. So, if you wanted to do your training and stuff there, or, have spices being traded up north and south, whatever, you can handle on the days off. When you're not playing. When you're playing, that's when you have your big adventures and stuff. And be like, okay, we're going to that dungeon now. We're going to go kill the Archlich Swiggle-Woo-Woo. And, we'll go do that. But then he'd be killed, and he'd be dead if you guys succeeded. And then you guys would be the guys who killed him. Hooray. But your characters will age, They'll grow up. They'll eventually retire from adventuring. If they live long enough, they might just buy a farm and give up. Do things that way, like retire. They might become a king. Get a keep and everything like that. Take over a place, or be anointed king by the people for, hey, you killed that archlich. Oh my God, you're a king now. And so that character would normally retire from being an adventurer and become an NPC in the world. And then but the player might not fully retire. Just let him run on automatic, and be like, yeah, I want to play him right now because aren't orcs invading from the north, whatever. Yeah, I think the king should get involved in that. He should go up there and fight. He killed an archlich, remember? I think he can handle some orcs. Get him and his knights up over there. Let's do that. And the DM running the world, not just a single story, but the world, would help facilitate that. Like, okay, we're going to play the high-level characters now. Is there anyone else who wants to play their high-level character to join us on this day and stuff, do the thing? And we'll do the high-level thing, and we'll go do it. And then the low-level characters will be doing their low-level stuff. Like, yo, we're going to go clear out this goblin-infested cave. Yeah, let's go do it. Woo. Instead, we wound up making friends with the goblins. What? How'd you succeed on doing that? That's so crazy. Well, what? And it's like, this guy, in fact, became such good friends with this goblin that, like, now it's his friend for life. And he unlocks it as a new playable character. That's a part you don't have in modern D&D. Modern D&D, you don't unlock characters. You just have your player for your story, and you play. In old D&D, original D&D up to AD&D, your charisma score determined how many characters you could unlock. So every character had one ability to make a best friend who would last forever. And if you did that with a character, they became your other playable character. However, your charisma bonus would determine that you could get so many more. And when you got the new character, they had one slot. Well, they didn't have the one slot. I added the one slot thing later to make it easier. They had the based off their charisma modifier. So you can make best friends with a rat, and now, yeah, the rat's your new playable fucking character. Get dunked on, haha, and whatever. Or it's like this goblin is now, or this dragon is now your playable character. Congratulations, boom. You can now play as this elder dragon. Good job. You befriended him, man. You earned it. And it's like, what? I can play him? Yeah, play him. And then, if you do, you get some weird fun stuff going on. And he's got his own charisma score. He has his own friends and stuff there. He has a backstory built into the character already. Like, this is the dragon who's been terrorizing this place for a long time and stuff. So he has a horde. He has wealth. He has all this stuff. And now you get to play him. And that was super cool. Discovering characters in the world and being able to play them was neat. Doesn't exist in modern editions, so I like it. So I like that, and I like time meaning something, because as you play, players do stuff, and that's how you have like the characters in Greyhawk. Like, look at Greyhawk. And I'm saying there's certain kings and other things who've risen to power. Barbarians who've taken over tribes and stuff like that, or all this stuff. And most of those are player characters. Like, those are people who are playing with Gary Gygax. That's what their character went out and did, and the times they did it are marked down in the histories of that Greyhawk world. Like, it's like the history. Does this happen then and there? That's what the players did. Some of them weren't even in the same group at the same time. They were off doing their own thing, and they'd meet up for certain times and their dates and stuff like that. And people meet up all over the place, but you keep track of these dates and when people are where and what they're doing and stuff like that, so you could have people potentially meet up and encounter the other characters at NPC. And so you had things that, like, how do you behave in certain situations and stuff to figure it out ahead of time. So if, like, a goblin showed up, who's a player character, and found your human wizard who's trying to build the ultimate death trap and is killing any creature that they encounter to do so, well, that goblin player, when they encounter that place, they know the threat that they're dealing with now, or at least the DM does, and he can react properly. Like, this guy's going to try to kill you with some weird, crazy wizard traps, okay? And then when that player comes back, or, checks in on his character, he's like, oh, I got killed by a goblin. How'd that happen? It's like, well, man, let me tell you how your character died. It was epic. And they tell him the story of how that player character playing the goblin who encountered this wizard, who was set to try to kill it, how the goblin managed to, one, survive, and two, defeat this arch-wizard, and then, steal his equipment and stuff like that. That's a crazy story. And that developed because players were doing player stuff, and they set up their NPCs to behave that way. And now, We have like Discord and Twitter and all these other things you can use, for, or even just a phone, just a smartphone like this. You know, we got, ooh, it's a smartphone, and you can quickly communicate with people and be like, hey, what this is about to happen with your character. Blah, blah, blah. I know you're available to text, but I know you're not available to actually be here right now. But this is what's going on, you know. And you have people react like that in real time and stuff. You know, you can do more. You can do it easier now than you could back then, and we don't. I mean, that's weird. So, and what was even cooler was you could take a character from one campaign. Say you're playing on Greyhawk. Okay, so Greyhawk would literally just be the campaign, the whole world that Gary Gygax is hosting. His table, if you sit down there, you're playing Greyhawk. You're in Greyhawk. You're affecting the history of Greyhawk. And if you go to this other guy's table down the way, you're playing Eberron. And it's Eberron. And, you know, anything you do there is affecting Eberron. So, cool. But then, let's say you played at Gary's table and you were playing Greyhawk for a while. But you're like, man, I like this character and stuff, but I want to go play some Eberron because I know he's available on Tuesdays when I'm available. And, you know, so I'm going to go do that with my character. I'm going to take him over there and do stuff with him for, like, hey, I'll go there and I'll be back next week, guys, over here, doing the things. Well, real time is passing in each of those worlds. So your character teleports somehow from this world of Greyhawk, boom, into this world of Eberron. Boom, he teleports there. Probably if you're plane traveling, whatever, and now he's adventuring there for a bit. And you're like, I'm going to be at this place, so I'm going to get somewhere safe again, and I'm going to teleport back. So then I'll reappear over there and be able to continue doing stuff with them there. So you go from Greyhawk to Eberron to Greyhawk again. Your character is hopping dimensions, teleporting to different realities. You know, and that's fine. D&D has spells to explain that. A lot of them. You know, and then weird different forces and stuff going on. So that was made to facilitate that. So your character could be affecting multiple worlds. The concept of a Magic the Gathering Planeswalker is very similar to this, and I doubt it's not inspired by this. Like, I very much doubt it. I think this affected that, the creation of the Planeswalker thing, because that's what your players were called before, and Magic the Gathering was a Planeswalker. So now there's little cards for them as well, which is kind of weird, but whatever. So, I think that's where that came from. And if it's not, cool. What a crazy coincidence. And just super awesome. But yeah, all your player characters were planeswalkers, basically. They could walk between different dimensions and planes. And that was the thing that made them interesting. And, you know, there's certain creatures and stuff that existed in different planes. Like, you could have a Lolth in Greyhawk, and you could have a Lolth in Eberron, you know, and they're different characters, wholly. But, yeah. You know, stuff like that. It was really interesting. So yeah, but every single player's world was like that. Like, every DM had their own campaign world, and going to their table meant you're playing in that world. And that world's history is affected by you being there. And if you stop your character and say, okay, I'm here in Greyhawk, I'm staying there long term, and you never come back and stuff, well, your character's still been there. Time is still ticking down and stuff. So as the day goes on, they're still doing things. And the DM's running them on autopilot, basically. So, you know, they'll still be doing stuff based off what you put in play for them to want to do. And that's neat. Like, wow, your character reached old age and died a peaceful death on his farm. Like, nice. Cool. What a successful character. Dang. And you can come back to that game later. Maybe 600 years have passed. Your character's long dead and everything there, but you can see the history, what's been affected by him, how he got down in the history books, you know, or all these other characters that have come and gone. And you can pop in with a new character and start playing right away. You know, or maybe you befriended something that's immortal. You know, maybe your character is best friends with an undead skeleton. Okay, well, maybe that skeleton survived through all these years and stuff, you know, and now you can play him, and he's like level 17 now. You know, and you're like, wow, okay, he's been through a lot, so I'll start playing as him, and then I'll go on an adventure, and I'll go to one of these safer areas to go help out for a little bit, and just, you know, sort of him going on a mini vacation from his big, tough life to go hang out, and maybe there he makes friends with someone who's lower level. And you unlock a new character that way, you know, but you encounter people who have histories and worlds, and they all matter, and it's like, oh, wow, you know, cool, like, maybe you're in Greyhawk, and you get a bunch of argan oil. Okay, let's say that. You found a bunch of argan oil, you get it, and you take it to Eberron. And let's say Eberron, they don't even have argan trees. So this argan oil, you know what to do with it. Your character does. No one there knows about it. So you set up a shop, and you start selling it. Like you know, convince people who have stuff for it. You know, it's used like this. It works in this, this, and this, and you start selling it. And you're the only supplier of it, and you disappear for a couple weeks at a time, and reappear because you're going back to Greyhawk, grabbing more argan oil, selling it over in Eberron, and then going back and forth doing that, and that's fine. That's what D&D did. It allowed you to do that. Like one of the AD&D supplements that was all about trade routes and like how much different spices and stuff cost and all these other fun things and stuff. You know, you could be like, man, I'm trading cardamom and broccoli, man, and it's going great. Like, I freeze dry this broccoli with a spell here, and I bring it over there. I do this other stuff, and I cross this sea, I trade it over there, I get the more expensive stuff there. So then I trade out the cardamom for allspice, and I get the allspice, and then I go into another dimension entirely by going to someone else's table and whatnot, and I trade the allspice for this weird magical stuff called like Zala powder over there that you can't get in any other dimension. And I take the Zala powder and I sell it over here in Greyhawk again, and I come back and I know my like exchange rates and stuff and everything. And that was super cool, and I want that to be normal again. I want that experience to be something where you go down to your local nerd shop and you go, hey, who's doing Otherworld experience games? And then they go, oh, I am over here and stuff. And you go, hey, I got a character who is currently in this other world thing and whatnot, but like I teleported out for now. I'm looking for a world to pop into. And they go, oh, well, you can pop into our world. Well, show me the character sheet, and I'll see if it's okay for them to pop into this world. It's like, you just can't have centaurs in this world. Anytime someone tries to teleport in with one, they just get turned into a level 1 kobold. So I hope your character's not a centaur, or they're going to become a level 1 kobold if they join us. And, whatever weird rule mechanic thing the DM wants, who gives a shit? And they go and they figure it out, and they check out the thing, like, oh yeah, he's not a centaur and stuff, he's a minotaur and whatnot. He's level 17, while all of my characters level 3 or lower, but yeah, he can come in, there's no problem with that. But there's only a few places where such a creature could teleport into this world. Maybe over here, or there. And then, boom, you start playing. And you get it in, you get involved, you appear, and you start playing. And suddenly it's like an isekai anime. We have this uber-powered creature just show up into the world and start affecting it. And that's fine. That's what was supposed to happen. That was some of the worries and the cool things and stuff. That's what it was about. And I want that back. So I'm building that right now. I'm building a small world that will expand out to a bigger world. Like, I'll show you right now. I'll show you a bit. There it is. 1 second. Bada bing. Bada boom. So, let me show you this. This is one continent out of 5 continents on the D&D world I'm building. I'm playing 5th edition. My buddies are playing 5th edition. We're all playing 5th edition. Playing 5th edition in this world. But we're playing it AD&D style. Set up, hey, you get 1 best friend, and your charisma modifier allows you to have more, etc. If you lose all your characters, you get a new character. But, you can unlock new characters by meeting people and have their backstory and the race and stuff like that. You want to be a dragon, you can do it. Just go befriend a dragon. You're not going to start as one with your first character, but you can go befriend one and earn it. Stuff like that. So I built this world, and it's small right now. I'll show you. Again, every single one of these squares you see is 14 miles. That's right, 14 miles. And so, 5 of these. That's how big it is. And, plus the islands. So basically 6 of those big. And islands move around in my world. I've made my own world. It's my own setting. Crazy, weird setting with strange rules and stuff going on. And one of the rules is what's going to allow it to, in a year or 2, expand to basically double or quadruple the size. I haven't decided yet. But that's what's going to happen. The world's going to get bigger. And these continents are going to expand and everything like that. And there'll be more stuff there. But right now, it's just big enough so I can have fun, show people how to make a Otherworld game, and, bring it into the fold for everybody. So, this stuff's going to be published and whatnot. It'll be on, like, the DM's Guild for really cheap. I don't want to waste people's money on it, but, I want to get something out of it. I'm putting all this work in. So, if I ask for a few dollars, whatever. You know, I'm gonna teach you how to make an otherworld experience by showing you what I made, and talking about it in there, like how I want to expand it and how I'm going to expand it later. I set up rules in there in the world, so I can have I can have players come in from other games. If someone comes with a level 17, you know, lizard man warrior or whatever, it's fine, absolutely fine. I have no problems. They gotta start experiencing the world, and you know, I'll be texting my players and stuff, and be like, hey, your character was farming at the place, but then a warg showed up and everything. How do you want to handle that? You know, boom, boom, boom. It'll be fine. That's gonna be really cool. Seeing this world develop in the history. My players are really interested in going. Oh, and this is something back to that critical role thing and how it relates to this thing I'm doing here. So I was on Twitter, and I don't use Twitter much. I'm not a good Twitter guy, but I'm figuring it out. So I was on Twitter, and someone posted about the whole critical role situation, and then I posted something that basically amounted to like, "Yo, I'm starting up an AD&D campaign right now, and you know my players came up with their cool characters, and I saw them, and I was like, man, these are all really cool. I hope they survive session 1." And one of my players was like, this is like, well, I've survived every session 1 you've had so far. I'll survive this one too. And you know, some of their characters died session 2, but you know, some of them lived the entire campaign through and even like saved the world tree and other weird, crazy stuff. But yeah, that's what's expected. Like, you never know. In D&D, your characters could die at any moment. And you know, with my players, so that's what happened. I told them, they're like, yeah, I love these characters. What do we want to do with it? You want to go start a town and reopen trade routes? That's awesome. You know, like, I put them in the world. So I have a specific spot in the world I put them. I said, you're starting here. You're going to go here, and you have options around like this, the sort of the area you're going to be going around. And you'll be coming from this other continent. And they're like, cool. So they did backstories, and we built up their backstories together and stuff, and we did this whole thing. And now they're arriving into the world. They'll be arriving there, and they'll get to go experience this place and try to do what they want to try to do. Will they get there? Will they die in the first session when I have dragons blow up their ships? Who knows? Maybe. Because, yeah, they put elder dragons into their backstory as enemies that they have. They did that. I let them. So they're going to pay a price for that right out the start. That's what's going to be happening. On their ship going down to the town, there's going to be a dragon attack, and they're going to attack all these major ships. And will the players survive? I don't know. They're level 1. They're all level 1. Level 1s with elder dragons as enemies. Yeah, they wanted that. Sure, they also wanted 60 other people and whatnot from their tribe coming with them and all this other stuff that's really cool and fun that I like. And it's just all great. It's all great. It's all good. But you're gonna pay the price for having certain things there, and sometimes that price is good. Sometimes things you want. Sometimes though, it's an enemy that's attacking you right off the start. And I hope they all survive. I really do. I'm not gonna play it easy on them. One of them's a Warforged, and it's the water, dude. Try not to sink. Okay, try to figure that out. But yeah, they'll have fun. They'll either survive or their character will die, but doesn't matter. It's the first session, so if the character dies, whatever. They just make a new character who's another survivor from the shipwreck, and they're ready to go. Like, whatever. Easy. Done. You know, and then they'll get to experience this place, and once they've been here a little bit, they'll be able to befriend people and stuff like that. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I have a character I'll be solo playing as well, who will be arriving on the same day. Hopefully that character survives well. I don't know. That character could die, and I have to recreate a new one right at the start before I even get a chance to play them as a character one-on-one. So we'll see. And I'll be making a character in a bit too for it, but she won't be playing at the same time as them, which is fine though. But we'll be counting time, so it'll be like, all right, this many days have passed, etc., etc., etc. What I want to do though is I want to do this a little differently. So rather than being like, yeah, 12 weeks can pass in game, you know, while just a day is passing IRL, I think I want to just stick to a day in game the whole time, the whole way through, which will motivate my players even more so to find and make long-term friends, so that they can have someone who's in these different settlements, or someone who's like, yeah, I'm going into a dungeon right now, I'm going to do this. you know, so they have all these different experiences playing out at the same time and really get the most out of that. I don't think they'll be running more than like 5 or so characters that they're actively playing. Okay, my players, let's say 6. 6 or so characters at a time. But you never know. And if they do, I don't think they'll split them up too far. They'll probably do like 2 or 3 in a group just to give themselves an advantage, you know, because that's what they're like. But we'll see. I love D&D and I love the Otherworld experience. So the Otherworld experience, like, you only really see it in like MMORPGs, like, you know, World of Warcraft, stuff like that. But even there, it's not a true Otherworld experience because there's still this big thing that's all gamified, where it's just, you know, really weird. Like, I'm not handling trade routes. If I go and I burn down a town in World of Warcraft, you know, say me and a bunch of buddies, we're orcs and whatever, we go over there and we destroy this one town. You know, say we go to Stormwind and we just wreck it. Like, we get all our buddies, we go on a huge massive raid and we wreck Stormwind. Well, Stormwind's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be perfectly fine. It didn't get ransacked by orcs, whatever, who cares? True Otherworld experience would be, yeah, no, they did it. They ransacked the place. The characters that are there are dead. The characters who invaded and stuff, they did it. They did whatever. Did they just leave or did they settle in? Whatever. You know, but in an Otherworld experience, your character wouldn't disappear when you're not playing. They'd still be there. So, yeah, that's a big difference. And D&D can facilitate that a little better than MMOs right now. But if we put technology in the right direction, I think we can get MMOs to do it too. But it's the closest thing you'll get, especially EverQuest 1. If you look at EverQuest 1, there's things you can do that change the world forever. Like, there's this one dragon in EverQuest. EverQuest 1 is different than EverQuest 2. It's a MMORPG that you can play on the computer. The older ones of it, there's a whole thing, so you can play Classic and all these other things. I like the Classic ones, because then you can play through the different histories and stuff, and that's really cool as you see the different expansions come out. But also, as the different servers there want to do different things, like, for example, players on one server might kill this one particular dragon, and then once they do that, that dragon is dead, and the equipment tables for all the things in the world changes. Like, what they drop changes entirely. Like, no longer will orcs drop leather, you know, instead they will drop chain. Like, it changes the world like that dramatically. And there's some things that do it less so, and other things that do things your way, or cut off quest chains and say, okay, well, that's been done, so now there's this pass open between this human city and this elven city now. Done. You know? And a few things like that. And it's a lot closer than things like World of Warcraft in terms of having a consistent world, and for each server being different. But like things like the deities in there used to be, I don't know if they still are, but they used to be ran by GMs. So a GM would pop into a world and be like, this server's having an event where this god is taking over this place. He's going to go do this thing, and he's gathering up his army of trolls to go do it, and other loyal worshippers. And you get to go experience that. If you're on that server, you can go do that. And then if they take over that ogre town or whatever and stuff there, that town's been taken over on that server. That's now when you play as an ogre on there, you guys are under the slavery of like the Kazakh Thule thing and whatnot, and you know, working through this different experience than you had before, where it's like, yeah, we are the underdog in our own city, and you know, we don't like it. We want to reclaim our place and our rightfulness later. Da 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 da, and it changed the story and the way the world is ran. And that's the Otherworld experience. That's what I'm going to give my players, and they're going to explore, have fun with, and I'm going to deal with. So, I know this is a little bit of a random episode, just sort of all over the place about D&D, but I had a bunch of things to say in some weird directions. So I know it's pretty simple too. Like, normally I get into more fun stuff, but that's it for this one. I am done. I will see you on the next episode. If you like this content, don't forget to brain blank to like and subscribe. And hopefully you heard me better this one and on the next ones. Alright, I will see you on the next one. Toodaloo for now. Boop!